How
to get away with murder.
How to Get Away with Murder was created and written by Pete Nowak. Pete has been a writer on every show I've ever had. He wrote on Private Practice, he wrote on Grey's, he wrote on Scandal, and he came to us and said, I have this idea for a show.
He talked to us about a bunch of different ideas, and one of the things he had this notion about was something about a group of students, or a group of lawyers, and one of them's committed a murder. He added to it this idea of a law professor who was morally questionable and charismatic and incredibly devoted to her work, but also amazingly damaged. And all of a sudden, this show started to emerge.
As a defense attorney, I spend most of my time around professional liars. So you have to work really hard to fool me.
The way the show started in my head was mostly with the students in the woods and the murder. I knew I wanted to start the show with something kind of exciting and that would just grab people from the very first second. After that, it really came, the idea for the school and setting it in a law school and with a very powerful teacher came after I came up with the idea for like the murder in the woods and everything.
And he really had a very fully formed, almost fully formed idea when he came to us, and it was genius. He's an amazing writer, and I think we were almost freakishly lucky that we know him and got him.
Look around you. At the quiet girl you share notes with, the cute guy you have a crush on, the gunner who talks too much in class, and ask yourselves, do you know who anyone really is?
Viola Davis, who plays Annalise Keating. Viola was a gift and a miracle that fell from the sky, because initially it was our understanding that she wasn't available and she wasn't actually going to be doing any television last season. And God bless Linda Lowy, our stalwart casting director. She went back to Viola's manager and said, what if I had a really, really special script for you? Do you think there's any possibility she would read it? And Viola, in fact, read it and really took to it. And that was one of the best moments of all of our lives.
My manager presented the idea to me and said, I have a role for you that's the role that you say is not available for actresses who look like you, your age, your race. And this has everything in it that you've ever wanted. And it was this. So it was a no-brainer.
I would never have been presumptuous enough to think that Viola Davis would play the lead in my first pilot that was being produced. I just would never have dreamt that big. In retrospect, I now know I should have.
You throw so much information at the jury that they walk into the deliberation room with one overwhelming feeling: doubt. That's how you get away with murder. It is a joy to play someone so different because I get to transform, I get to show my art. Because the thing about acting is, even though it's not rocket science, we know that, but it is an art form. So sometimes I like to show what I can do. When Nate and I arrived at the house, Sam was in the driveway getting into his car about to leave town. Sam was drunk, yelling at me. Nate got out of his car to try to calm him down. So Nate had to hold him back until I got inside.
What is wonderful about the cast, the cast of players surrounding Viola, is not only is Viola amazing, but every last one of those young actors with her, they're all amazing. You sort of get a little gift with every last one of them. Pete is, so fortunate in that he can write anything for any one of them, and every last one of them can pull it off.
The good thing about the way Pete's worked with us is that he's been responsive. He's not just been didactic. So he very much feeds on what he sees and how it comes out. And I think that's important, and that's part of what's exciting about it.
For me, that's just a very creative process to be able to talk to the actors and hear what they think. They are living and breathing this character every day that they go to work. So they have insight that I could never have myself.
Oh, yeah, they call me Mr. Sex because I like to do it.
No woman wants to be on the receiving end of that.
I was like, it has to be a hit. It has to be a hit. And with Viola attached, you know, all the indicators were sort of positive that it would do well.
When I heard about this show, I knew that Pete Nowak had created it, who Shonda, I think, had been a mentor to him for a long time, and he had written on other Shonda shows. And I was very excited to even be considered.
We thought we can get the surveillance tape from the store where Nate first approached Rebecca. That way we can establish that she came to the house with the thumb drive.
Stop. I want to say good job and hand you each a trophy and tell you that this plan is going to work, but it won't.
When we first meet Bonnie, she has a very small presence in the pilot. You get to know right away that she is one of Annalise's core people. Frank Delfino, who also works in the law office.
You're a misogynistic ass.
Stop screwing the students.
Frank is a very mysterious guy, and you don't know. You assume he's one thing, but then he'll show you this layer of vulnerability and peel a little bit back and a little bit back, but then he'll sort of reset the whole thing by doing something that is typical of what you think he would do. You know, whatever, felony or what have you.
Frank, take who you need.
You two, prom queen and douche face. Come with me.
I received an email from Pete asking me, the character was called Laurel Wilding. And I received an email saying if I was interested in making her Latin. And I said I would love to do that, only if that is not a thing. She happens to be Latin. We might know that, we might not further on, but it's not the thing that makes this person.
¿Sabes qué? Te puedes ir de la mesa, por favor. Váyate.
¿No te interesa saber lo que tu hija está haciendo?
Laurel, speak up more. I like your ideas. I'd watch out for Mr. Gibbons and Miss Castillo here. Quiet ones are usually the most dangerous.
What the hell just happened?
I was working on a different ABC show called Black Box, and I feel like because of that show, people at ABC finally knew I existed. I was like, thank you. Don't do this. I love you. I want to marry you. And you want to marry me. No. To be here for me on a Shonda Rhimes produced show with like Pete Nowak, the creator, who is just the sweetest, the most wonderful man. I could have never even dreamed of something this great.
Maker's Manhattan. 2 cherries.
My audition scene for the job was the bar scene we see in the pilot where Connor meets this IT guy, Oliver, and he buys him a drink. It just sort of bleeds off the page how confident this guy is.
Your coworkers seem to want to show, so just say the word and we can start making out.
And I'm not that confident, so it was, you know, a bit of acting to muster sort of that confidence and that bravado that I think Connor has. And I think that's probably my favorite part about playing him is I get to sort of, you know, pretend like I'm as charming and confident as he is.
The dumb strippers upstairs must have flushed their drugs down the toilet because now there's disgustingness coming out of my shower drain. Can I use yours? I'll just be a minute. I can't sleep till I've washed all the beer and frat boy stench off of me.
What I admire about Rebecca, she doesn't have a support system, she doesn't have an easy life, she's constantly questioned and betrayed by the people that she cares about. I think it would be really difficult for somebody that is emotionally vulnerable naturally to move through a world that doesn't really seem like it wants her there.
I didn't kill her.
You confessed that you did.
They made me say those things. I just wanted them to stop. I wanted to go home.
I know I wouldn't be great at it, so I kind of admire that she always gets back up and is kind of a survivor in a sense.
That's who you are. Some scared little girl who pretends to be strong, but is really just weak and selfish.
I did everything I could to protect you.
You've done nothing to make my life miserable.
For me, I feel like there have been some epic scenes. The fights that she has with her husband, who's played by Tom Verica, have been epic. And I mean that in the sense that I feel like they feel like real fights that two people who are, their marriage is dying and in a terrible place would have.
When I got that script, it was, you know, it was a knockdown, drag-out fight that went on for 5 or 6 pages, and through all different parts of the house. That is definitely the most memorable because it felt most like a play, kind of like theater in a way, because it really was all happening real time.
Certainly first on most people's list is a tie between What's Your Penis Doing on a Dead Girl's Phone, which is preceded by one of the most amazing things I've ever seen on TV, which is her taking off her wig and her makeup and cleaning herself and staring in the mirror.
The scene where I took off my wig and took off my makeup, I felt was a very private moment. And it's, you know, it's one of the building blocks of acting is being private in public. And I just thought it was really important to see this woman preparing herself for bed at night. And there's something very vulnerable about the act. And it's something that I haven't seen in network TV. You know, I wanted her to kind of look like those women that we usually marginalize.
That scene, I think, basically in some way changed television and the way women are viewed on television. She did something I've never seen a woman do on television before. She unveiled and unmasked herself. And that was a feminist moment. It was a powerful woman of color moment. It was an epic moment, and Viola was all in for it.
I told her about you. She wants me to be happy. I said I'd tell her the same thing if it was me in the hospital.
You're very lucky you found her.
I hadn't worked with Shonda before How to Get Away with Murder, so I wasn't really familiar with her specific flavor, you know, style. But with our show, ABC and Paul Lee and his network have been so great to allow Pete to push boundaries. I mean, I hadn't seen this kind of stuff on a network channel.
I think the taboo thing is probably a subject that I know Shonda is tired of talking about, and I think it's one that she's faced with a lot. And I think it gets so easily confused because I think Shonda and Pete are just trying to tell real stories, creating these characters who aren't just one thing.
I don't think that it was ever the intention to push the envelope in any way. I think that the objective from the beginning has been to create real characters.
To get to do what I love to do, to act for a living, and then to get to do it on a show that can, you know, is helping them make a change and make a difference, it's just incredible to me. There's nothing better than that, you know.
I get to see the world I want to see, this varied place with people being complicated and sometimes treacherous, and it being all types of people from all types of class levels, races, sexes.
I think that the fact that they're grounded in character, I feel like that really had people plugged in from day one.
This is a completely new experience for me, being on something that is this widely received, whose fan base is this enthusiastic and vocal.
This is what it's about. A show like this is why you do it. To get to work with Viola, to get to work with everyone on the show, people you care about, material you care about. It's fantastic.
Working with this cast, these young people who just are such a joy to work with, and working with Shonda and Betsy, cool women, and Pete, who's the ultimate collaborator, but also getting to step outside my comfort zone and having a challenge at this part of my career. Some people are fortunate just to work. And I've been able to work and get a role at 49 that wakes me up. And it's something so different from what people expect from me. So there's a lot of things on the list. It's a joy.